It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. It makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and bonds and the ink stains that have dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory. That keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy painted on their columns now that bind me. Or something that somebody said because they thought we'd fit together walking. It's not knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiving when I walk around the railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and hours you're just gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and the summer sun might burn me till I'm blind. But not to where I cannot see you walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard a rustling towel and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup hands round the tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting from the back roads by the rivers of my memories, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind. A good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this 13th day of February 2024. Now, I'm on a Zoom screen, and we're awaiting Ryan Zink at any moment. He's going to be coming on with us later tonight, and he's got a voter town hall that got sort of double booked with us, and we're going to give Ryan a little bit of time come on. I hope he'll come on tonight. If not, we'll just talk to this old guy. This is Dan Golvach on the phone with me. Good to see you, buddy, again. How you been, man?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing great. Before we get kicked off here, I need to know who was singing the Glenn Campbell.
That was me, man. That was the Mac Man.
I tell you what, I got to tell you, I'm a professional musician. I think you got it.
Well, you know, that coming from you, Golvach, that's like coming from what is the guy Simon Cowell on America's Got Talent or something? I mean, that's like getting a compliment from Elvis, man. For goodness sake, goodness.
Well, I'm a Glenn Campbell fan also. I love Glenn Campbell. I saw him when I was a little kid at the rodeo, and a lot of people don't know this. They know him for being a singer, but he was one of the greatest guitar players ever. Eddie Van Halen wanted to take lessons from him. That's how good he was.
Yeah, he was a good guy, and he was he'll always Rhinestone Cowboy will always be my song of Glenn Campbell's. I first heard that I was a 7th grader, And that song always sticks with me when I hear Glenn Campbell. But he's a good man. You know, we lost him a few years ago, and he was a good singer. But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. I don't know.
You sound great.
I recorded that song about 2 years ago, and it's just been an earmark of the show. And so thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
You need to do Wichita Lineman. That's my favorite from him.
Well, I tell you what, we'll find a track to that and give it a shot. Now, if Glenn Campbell, are you going to pay the fine when Glenn Campbell resurrects and turns over in his grave and comes back on the earth to haunt me down and say, "Would you stop ruining my song and ruining my songs by your stupid voice, McDonald?" So,
I think he'll be proud of you.
Okay. Hey, buddy, good to hear you. Hey, good to see you tonight. All jokes aside. Hey, and listen, we're going to come see you in Texas. We were talking before the show. We got a lot of things going on this year. And we're going to be, we've got some friends of yours coming on the network, Sheriff Mack. Hopefully we'll get him on and some other folks. But, Dan, I wanted to get you on first tonight before Ron Zink because this border issue is getting worse and worse by the day. Dan Crenshaw's nothing but a rhino, and I know that's your senator, and you're trying to primary him. It's going to be an uphill battle. But the big news tonight in the House and in the Congress is the impeachment of Mayorkas, who was the Homeland Security Secretary, who's basically has been his doing, and it's a joke watching these. Let me say it like this: it's a joke watching these Democrats go out here tonight and claim this is all politics when they tried to impeach Trump over trivial crap over a phone call twice, and this is what's actually hurting the country. Is the actions of Mayorkas and his lack of securing that border. And now, you know, it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate. I mean, they're probably even going to see the light of day. But at least it's on record that they did get the vote, 214 to 13, thanks to three rhinos in the House who need to be primaried, Buck, McIntosh, and Granger up in Wisconsin. Pathetic individuals. But anyway, what's your thoughts on Mayorkas getting impeached? I know it ain't going to matter ultimately, but at least it's a symbolic statement of Congress, the House, that he has failed at his job. And Dan, you live in a state where y'all are on the front lines of this, buddy. We talked about this just 2 weeks ago. Texas is getting overrun, man. It's an invasion. What's going on in Texas?
Yeah, I got to say about Mayorkas, I view it differently. I don't think he failed. I think he succeeded in doing what they put him in there to do.
Very well said.
He succeeded in ushering in the largest, the largest invasion in this country's history. And, I don't know if you're aware of this, but he sits on the board of HIAS. That's the second largest, only to Catholic Charities. NGO that is down there in the Darien Gap, processing all these people, getting them maps, getting them all the necessary things they need to make their trek up to the border, and they're purposely doing this. It's UN funded. It's funded by, if you're Catholic Charities, it's funded by the UN. It's funded by Catholics, and it's funded by our government. In this case, he's the second largest, is HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, and that's funded by, again, the UN, our tax dollars, and synagogues. And the Protestants have their, the evangelical immigration table. The Lutherans are all in on this. They got these NGOs down there, and I can tell you some stories that will make your blood boil. And he is, before he was brought into brought in with Biden, he was already on this. He is an enemy to this country. And so are all of those NGOs. They're all enemies to this country. They are purposely enriching themselves, taking money to aid and abet an invasion into this country. And they are sending people that mean us no good.
Yeah, but I'm with you 1,000,000%. And I think you worded it beautifully. And you're right, I'm wrong. He didn't fail. He succeeded in opening and destroying this border. And Dan, I'm with you 1,000,000% that it's been done deliberately. And look, I've got a different take on Joe Biden's cognitive issues. I'm sort of sick of hearing about his cognitive issues. I've got a different take than most people. I do not believe this man, and again, I've talked to people that say, well, some of the things that he's doing, that he can have these moments where he's clear, and then he's, out there in left field. And I've warned people not to be making fun of that. I don't make fun of it because, look, my parents, they're gone now, but I would not want people, in the upper part of their life who are going through these cognitive issues to be mocked and made fun of. It's not a laughing matter. It's very serious. But when you're the president of the United States, it's even more serious. And I've got a different take on this. I don't believe that he's actually that incoherent. And again, maybe it's the cynic in me, but it's amazing to me when he's trashing Republicans and threatening Trump for jail and threatening MAGA voters and threatening J6ers and threatening, his people that oppose him. And I watched him at the press conference trashing Ducey from Fox. I'm no fan of Fox, but Ducey was asking him a legitimate question, and he made this smart aleck remark. And then all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that feeble Joe Biden can't think what he had for breakfast yesterday morning. And maybe it's me. I just believe it's an act. I do, and I may be wrong. And again, I'm not saying that in any disrespect to a true condition, but I just think it's all politics, and I think this all is a show. And this Mayorkas thing, look, Joe Biden is sitting back laughing his AWS off tonight. He knows it ain't going to go nowhere. And he's already out there. I mean, they already prepared the statement after the impeachment. This was politics by the Republicans, and it was unconstitutional and all that. When there's a report out tonight that he's mad at Merrick Garland because he didn't get Trump put in jail yet, and Merrick Garland should have filed these charges earlier than last year, because now there's a chance that none of this is going to see the light of day before the elections. So give me a break about Joe Biden being incoherent. What say you, Dan?
I think that he's on up there in his age, and it's truly, once you get in your 80s, you get a little slower. You might get a little more forgetful. But
sure.
Do I think that he's, is he in advanced Alzheimer's? No, I don't think he is. I think he's another success story. He has successfully done what he was installed to do.
Pretty much.
It doesn't matter at this point. He's already succeeded. If nothing happens, if no more immigration, if they secure the border, they already have enough people in here to turn the voter, to turn us into, like Elon Musk said, it's going to be a one-party system. That's the whole point of this. Because these people, Chris, they have about 4 years of being here before they can get a green card, and then after they get the green card, they have about 2 years before they can apply for citizenship. And once they got that citizenship, they can get that vote. And so we're looking at about 2 election cycles. We'll have a one-party system from here on out. And they get them all on the dole. They get them all, they're bringing in people that are used to big government, used to government assistance, used to government control. They're not coming here with Jeffersonian ideas. They're not being asked to assimilate. They don't care about any of that. All they see is a lifeboat from where they came. And what they don't realize is they're turning they're turning the place that they're running to into the crap hole that they came from, because they're going to implement the same type of government, but they're going to bring the rest of us down, with them. And I tell you what, our inalienable rights are on the line. This is very dangerous, and your audience needs to listen to me. I'm the father of a son who had his brains randomly blown out by a 4-time deported illegal alien that had done 5 years in prison for attempted murder and had a 15-year nasty rap sheet. And he was brought here as a minor through no fault of his own. You've heard that. And let me tell you, Spencer had a friend that was here, a legal immigrant from Venezuela that he played in a band with when he was a kid. His name was Alex, a really nice kid. And he told me what happened when the communists took over in Venezuela. His father was an engineer, and they were upper middle class, and they came, they took everything away and told them to get out of their house, and they had a certain amount of time to leave the country. And we have got the same thing, the same people engineering that here.
How concerned are you about Texas? Because I keep hearing that what's going on at Eagle Pass and McAllen and that southern border, I've been under 3 times, Dan, and look, when I went there, 2 of the 3 times I went during the Trump years, the 3rd time, like to cost me my life, I got COVID down there and almost killed me. But that was like the spring of 21, right after this regime took over, and the morale had changed overnight. I mean, it had went from these border agents having at least some hope, and there was no hope that I saw. But one of the things that I've been hearing is that this onslaught against Texas is to turn Texas blue. It's politics. Do you have any concerns that that's going to happen, or do you think there's enough people in Texas to keep it red?
It is going to happen, and right now, demographics have changed. If you look at the census, and once these people get a right to vote, Texas will be blue. The United States, nationally, you lose the Texas electoral votes, it's over.
It's over.
It ain't ever coming back, and that's what this is. So it's not just a matter now of securing the border, Chris. If Trump is going to do something that's going to save the country, and I'm very hesitant to charge a man with basically the duties of a messiah. But that said, if he's going to actually do something, he's not only going to have to secure the border, he's going to have to do a massive deportation of these people. They have to be repatriated.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
They have to be sent home. And if they got kids here, I'm sorry, eyes wide open. You thumbed your nose at our immigration laws, and our treasonous government made it to where you can illegally enter our country and say, I'm here on asylum. And there's no standard by which we can measure that asylum until you've already been let loose in the country and given a court date that you're never going to come back to. So that's how they've been gaming this.
Yeah. And
you've got this, and this is what makes me livid when I hear Democrats say, "Well, it's our laws. They have a right to do. Well, good and well what they're doing."
Well, let me just say this about that, Dan. Let me not interrupt you, but let me just say it point blank, and I don't mean to sound cruel tonight, but the way I look at it, if you're here illegally, you're not under the protection of anything. You've got no right to claim anything in America. You got no right to claim for laws. You got no right to claim for housing. You got no right to claim for protection. I'm sorry. If me and you were to go to Mexico illegally, do you think the Mexican government would give 2 bit pence what happens to Dan Golvach and Chris McDonald? They'd kill us. And then if you go to a third world country, if you go to the Middle East, any country, Dan, there is no other nation on the freaking planet that does this crap and allows people to come across its border illegally and not do something very bad to those folks. Most countries will put you in jail and you won't see your family ever again. Yeah. You're going to die.
I am not opposed to using force, deadly force if necessary. And I may sound, it may sound pretty radical, but you know what? I'll tell you what's radical is you want to look at something. If you want to look at separated families,
come on, Dan.
I'll take you to the cemetery every holiday, and we can look at my kid. Or you can go to the Remembrance Project, Maria's Stolen Lives
Espinosa,
quilt. Yeah, the Stolen Lives quilt, and you can look at all of those dead kids. And when it comes to my American family, I'm sorry, they come first. And I know good and well that these people that are coming over here, and they're coming from all parts of the world, and this is another act of just colossal stupidity. Here we are bombing the crap out of a lot of people, or we're funding this stuff, and we're getting involved in all these wars, and either indirectly and funding this but we have our border open. So if you're one of those people over there that has a bone to pick with the United States because the United States is funding the people that are bombing you or at war with you, and you see this open border, well, duh. You know?
Well, speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up because the Senate passed this $85 billion package that is going to be dead on the arrival in the House, but it burned me up that $60 billion of that goes to the Ukraine and just 14 goes to Israel, Dan. And Ukraine is doing nothing but draining the American people dry. And Zelensky's out there prancing around like a fairy dust individual and claiming that he's so thankful for America's generosity. I bet he is. And you've got Israel and America. The rhetoric between Biden and Netanyahu is going up, getting more heated every day. And Israel is the one that needs this aid right now, Dan, because of what happened to them on October the 7th. But yet, you're right, we are financing our enemies. We're literally financing people that do not care about the country. And we're giving aid and comfort to terrorists that would do what they did to Israel on October the 7th here in a heartbeat if they could. And I'm not so sure they can't. They just haven't done it yet. And these things are, I think, making the people that just have a heart for the country, that care for America, get madder and madder and madder by the day. And the way we deal with things here in this country right is we go to the voting booth in November and we change out the garbage and we take the garbage out that's leading us. If they can't get it right, we change the garbage. It's like a baby with a dirty diaper. And it's like Walt Whitman, I guess, or Walt, the literature guy once said, politicians and diapers have to be changed for the same reason, Dan, and I'll let my audience figure what that reason is tonight. But to me, it's what smells so bad is that you got politicians playing with the lives of people. And you said something a while ago about separated families. The ultimate cause are people like your son, which had no business not being here tonight with us. That was a absolute travesty that should be laid at the foot of every pro-immigration, pro-illegal alien politician in this nation, including this administration, and your rhino Republicans, which one of them represents you, and that's Dan Crenshaw. Because a lot of these policies, Dan, has opened the door to this, and the Republicans are no better than the Dems, in my opinion.
Nope. And, you know, okay, I'm trying to get the numbers right on this bill. It was $60 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel. Then I think there was Taiwan, right?
Taiwan got a little bit. Yeah, they got a little.
Okay, I got a question. How much did America get?
None.
Zero.
That money should have went to the border agents, Dan. That money should have been sent to the border agents without a doubt, with no fun. I think we need to help Israel. I do. But we've got to secure our own border right now. We've got to secure our border. Ukraine has drained us dry. Can you look at all the billions that we've sent Ukraine. We could have built Trump's wall 6 times over, sent the National Guard down there, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Navy. And we could have kept this illegal invasion off the books, Dan. But no, our money's going off the $10 freaking tube to wars we have no business being in anyway.
If we don't fix this thing here at our own border, nothing we do overseas matters.
Absolutely, Dan.
We're not going to be able to help anybody, even if they are our friends. We ain't going to be able to do anybody any good if our country collapses. And Chris, my God, we're printing up money out of thin air and driving our great-grandkids into further debt slavery. And I'm sorry, we have to get our priorities. It doesn't mean you don't love other countries, you don't care about other countries, but man, you got to take care of your home base first. You got to take care of your own family. My family is the American family. My country is America, United States, and that has to come number one before you do anything else. It's like this. I always say it this way. It's sending any money anywhere in the situation that we're in right now is much like leaving your burning house to make a mad dash across town to go put out some stranger's house fire.
That is an excellent analogy. Analogy.
We're on fire. We're on fire, and we're sending all of our assets to fight the fire over to other people. Before we can help anybody else, we have to be stable ourselves. And we're not. And I'm telling you, I'm down here in South Texas, man. I don't recognize my city anymore. I don't go anywhere. I don't even go out on the bike trails. And I walk every day with my dog, or either I take my mountain bike out. And, man, I don't go unless I'm packing, because I know what's out there. And I see them I see them everywhere. And the crime is getting out of control. The fentanyl, we've had over 100, think about this, over 100,000 deaths every year in the past 3 years from fentanyl.
Is that Texas or America?
That's America.
America, okay.
So over 100. Now, people like to say that well, that's different because these kids, they're choosing to do that. Well, you tell that to their families. You tell that to the mother and the father. Because the kid does something stupid, he deserves to die.
But Dan, that's a cop-out, because you and I both know where that fentanyl is coming from. It's coming from these cartels. Look, for God's sake, there was a report out, this is Monday night. It was Friday night, maybe over the weekend. I just happened to flip the TV on and just glanced, maybe last night, and there is the Gateway Pundit was reporting, Breitbart as well, that the northern border, we got our attention on the south. The cartels now are coming into Montana, of all places, and they're doping up the Native American tribes with fentanyl, Dan. The Native Americans are being targeted with the fentanyl. So this crap that, the Democrats are putting out there that, oh, these kids have a choice, that is a crock of living, T-U-R-D. And there's another word for it I want to use, but this is a family show sometimes. But it is turd. That is turd, Dan. The fentanyl is coming from the cartels that are invading our nation on both borders, north and south, buddy. Correct?
Yep. We also have something that's even more terrifying. And if you follow Michael Yon, I don't know if you do or not, but boy, he's somebody to follow. The Chinese that are coming up through here, they're coming up by the thousands. This is particularly scary because these people are they're not coming the same way the rest of the immigrants are coming. And they're coming, they're not in raggedy old clothes, and most of them have a technical background, and most of them are fighting age men, and they don't, China is not an open country. You don't just leave China without the blessings of that country, and we need to start asking ourselves, why does China seem to be okay with thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of their fighting age men coming to the United States?
Well, we should be okay with it, but it seems like we are. Listen, I'm going to keep you on here for about another 15 minutes, and we don't know where Ryan's at. He said he's got 10 more voters to talk to, and then he's coming, so I don't know what that means. But I'm grateful for you being on the phone with him. It's been good stuff already. I do want to ask you about, you're in the greater Houston area, Dan, that shooting that took place at the mega church Lakewood over the weekend. Right. This lady brings a rifle with Free Palestine basically embedded on it. Her 7-year-old son, and I know she identifies sometimes as trans, but they're calling her a her in the media. She had a 7-year-old son that got injured. Now, I'm getting conflicting reports. Was there any deaths in that, or was it just injuries?
As far as I know, Chris, there was only injuries, and it was mainly the little boy.
Yeah.
It's pretty bizarre. You can go in a lot of directions with this thing. All of these shootings, I don't know if you've noticed, but they seem to have a pattern. And I'm guessing we'll probably find some manifesto, but it is... I just don't. There's some strange things about that, and let me just say this: I believe that the powers that be want to see chaos. They want to see it wouldn't be a civil war, but they want civil unrest. They want division, and the reason they do is because if they can get that, it's the old problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic at play. I think that they're trying to gaslight us into things. Now, I don't have any proof any smoking gun that's what this was. But some of these shootings are bizarre, and they are directed against both sides, but they all seem to have this ideological connotations to them. It's just not somebody that just wants to go shoot up people. Either they're trans or either they're some sort of right winger, or it all seems to be like that. And I'm very suspicious. Our government is so crooked and so corrupt that you see a lot of things on the media, and it's hard to know what to believe.
You're saying a mouthful, Dan. And look, I try to stay away out of the ditch of conspiracy stuff, but I will tell you this though, it's getting to the point that I don't trust a thing this media says. There was Dr. Drew, and again, I'm not making a assessment one way or the other on Drew. I mean, Dr. Drew's Dr. Drew, but even he went out there, he's a liberal in some ways, and he's saying, look, the media has just gotten so corrupt, you can't believe a thing they say on either side. Because the right-wing media does it too. There's a lot of crap that comes out of the right-wing media just like the left-wing media. And but these shootings, there was a post, and I should have downloaded it when I saw it, but I think the last 7 major shootings we've had in America have been by people that have identified as trans. And we're not trying to disparage any group of people when we say that, but facts are facts. And it's like that this LGBTQ plus community, Dan, has turned so violent and so militant that they're doing this to themselves. Dan, listen, that's Ron Zink. He's coming into that. We got about 5 minutes. Go ahead and wrap us up real quick. Listen, I'm going to get you back on next week, and we're going to finish this up. Got some final thoughts real quick.
Well, just like you got to look at the Gretchen Whitmer conspiracy. That turned out to not be a conspiracy. You remember that? The FBI,
yeah.
They're going to take her out. So I just don't know what's going on. I can't say. But, I mean, I think that this trans phenomena is I think that's part of it's being directed. They're trying to turn things upside down, okay? It's being promoted and it's being directed at young people, and it's trying to make it look cool or look acceptable, and it's all about just trying to create chaos.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know, but I think the same thing with the border. They're purposely trying to bring in chaos.
They sure are.
They know it's going to be chaotic. They know there's going to be terrorism.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah. We hear you, Ryan. Give me 1 minute here, buddy. We're wrapping up. Good to see, we got 2 folks on at one time right now. Just give me 1 minute here. The McFile first. I don't think I've ever had 2 guests at one time like this. So Ron Zink, meet Dan Golvach. He's from your state of Texas and different part of the country. But Dan, listen, I appreciate you being with me on the phone tonight, buddy, for filling in for Ryan until he got here. And thank you. And we'll be in touch with you, Dan, and we'll get you back on soon, buddy. Okay.
Glad to be on.
Oh, you too,
Thanks
buddy.
for having
God
me.
bless
Take
Dan.
care.
Thank you. Dan Golvach, everybody. Put some fire in that house for him. And this is the man that we have been wanting to have on our network for a while. And I want to thank Dan for filling in for Ryan, who is a busy man, so busy that he had voters to talk to before he came on the McFiles tonight. Ron, good to see you. Good to have you on our McFile network tonight. How are you, friend? I can't hear you, Ryan.
I'm doing well. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
Hit mute on you, but yeah, man, I've been super busy. It's my 3rd podcast of the day, and then be calling some more voters here that want to talk to me afterwards. So,
okay, well that's good. Well, we want to just thank you first of all, James R. And I are really good friends. We go back a long way, and now don't believe anything James R. tells you about me. He can't prove half that crap anyway. I'm just joking. He's a good guy. James is going to be on our show soon. Hey, I want you to do a favor for us tonight. We've got plenty of time. Introduce yourself, because you are running for the 19th District of Texas. That's sort of Lubbock area in the West Panhandle. But a lot of people may or not know this, Ryan. J6 is you've had a little encounter with our wonderful Department of Justice through that. Tell everybody about that, and we'll get more in the campaign. Talk about Texas tonight. What's going on with Ron Zink right now?
All right. So, again, I am Ryan Zink. I'm a congressional candidate for CD19 out of Lubbock, Texas. I've got 33 counties, about 810,000 voters. I believe we make up about an eighth of the state of Texas for this district. I am a January 6th defendant. I was a journalist on the grounds working on my father's congressional campaign on January 6th. And I happened to be the person that videotaped Hunter Allen Imke kicking out the windows and on the right side of the Columbus doors. And while I was, whenever that was happening, I was protecting those officers that were on the East Porch that day. And I was actually instructed by Officer Benjamin Fluke of the United States Capitol Police Department. After I protected them, there were some of the rowdier participants that were up there for the day. They had began yelling at them after they took Hunter into custody, and they were, saying things like, we'll kill him if you take him. You're not taking him with you. You're a bunch of traitors. This is treason. Just shouting all of these things at these police officers. And so I stepped out in front of those rioters and I said, hey, just leave them alone. They're just doing their jobs. He's breaking the law. That's not why we came here. I immediately walked up to Officer Fluke and I asked him, I said, how can we help you? And he instructed me to stay on that porch and take pictures of people that assaulted them. And I did that job. I did it faithfully and I did it diligently. And I, was working and talking with another Capitol police officer that the government refused to identify in my court case, to where I was listening to his radio about, the things that were happening on the ground of January 6th. And, I was trying my best to put those out. I was previously a sports broadcaster, so I was used to trying to create hook content to pull people in, to make them view content, because my father was not a well-known candidate at the time. He had actually been really struggling in his race for that. And so I utilized what I knew and what I drew from memory, which was, to say into the camera, try to get things to excite people. And, we had talked to the Capitol Police about, turning over the footage and helping with the investigation of Hunter Imke and, even testifying if they wanted us to.
Wow.
And so, after January 6th, a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks goes by, nothing. We still haven't been contacted. I haven't been posting any of the content that I got from January 6th because I thought it was going to be used in an active police investigation, and you weren't supposed to, post things that were used, in that capacity and things like that. And on February 4th, between 4:18 and 6 a.m., the front of my house was driven through by a 12-foot battering ram on the front of an armored assault vehicle.
My goodness.
And I was taken into custody, and I was bounced around to 4 different facilities: Lubbock, Texas; Eden, which is a private-owned federal prison. It's a for-profit, and that place is an absolute joke and a nightmare. That place needs to be investigated immediately for the leadership that's there. I actually watched the warden beat a man while I was there. And then I went to Grady, Oklahoma, to the Federal Processing Center, and I made my way to Washington, D.C. And while I was at Washington, D.C., was where things absolutely got real for me, for what was going on. So initially, when I got to Washington, D.C., I was placed into a cell that didn't have plumbing. There was urine and feces all over the floor, and for 2 days I had requested that, either they give me a plunger or transfer me cells, and I kept asking for a Bible, and I was denied each time. And so finally I got to have an attorney call, and my attorney called up to the jail, and she said that she had requested a transfer because I didn't have any plumbing. Well, I kind of wish I hadn't said anything, because immediately after that was when they started torturing me. While I was at the gulag at that facility, because they started putting bleach and floor cleaner and fabuloso and all of these different chemicals inside of my food. And so really the only way that I was able to eat was I would stick the rice or the eggs, whatever came in that I could get into a sock, and I was rinsing it under the water to try to get the chemicals out of it so that I could eat something.
Was this a federal facility? This was federal.
Yes, this is federal. This is in the Washington, D.C.
Gotcha.
It's federal facility.
Wow.
And so, this goes on for a couple of weeks, and And finally, I got to, call and talk to my dad and, some other people that were in the room on an attorney call. And I told him, I was like, you have to get me out of here. They're trying to kill me. And I wish that, again, I hadn't said anything, because after that, they escalated again in retaliation, for me talking about the way that things were going at the facility. It'd been about 5 days since I had a shower, and they finally let me out to go shower. And whenever I came back, a couple of days later, I figured out that they had stuffed raw chicken inside of my drinking pipe at the sink where my water came out. And the only reason that I knew this was because I didn't have a cup to drink out of. I was drinking out of the plastic bag that my soap came in. And I saw this little tiny fragment fall out from the sink, and I kind of picked it up and, ran it through my fingers. And I was like, this looks like meat. But I hadn't eaten any meat, because the meat really like soaked up the bleach and stuff that they would put in there, and it just really was just not easy to rinse out after it had soaked in. So I usually didn't eat that. And I ran it through my fingers, and I was like, this looks like chicken. Well, then I started getting really violently ill at this point. Like, I was losing, tons of weight. I started asking for a request to go to medical, which was denied. I was continuing to ask for a Bible. I asked for a Bible like 150 times. Pretty much anytime somebody came to the door doing their 15-minute or 30-minute checks or whatever every day that I was there, I would ask, and I would, knock on the door and get told to shut up, that kind of thing. But I went back to get another drink, and a little bit larger piece fell out, and so I decided to bend my little 2-inch toothbrush that they give you, and I stuffed it up inside of the hole where the water came out, and 3 large pieces of raw chicken had fallen out of there. And I told my dad again, I was like, you have to get me out. Like, I'm not going to survive this. They're going to kill me. When I was in there, and I remember this one day in particular when I was sitting on the top bunk, because there was a cemetery that was outside of my cell. And I was wondering to myself if I was going to be the next person that went in there, because I went in at 180 pounds and I came out at like 130 pounds.
Wow, Ryan, that's a 50-pound loss.
In like 3 weeks.
Let me ask you this, not to interrupt you, but all right, what you're describing is worse treatment than a political prisoner, like a prisoner of war in a conflict, would get. Because even the prisoners of war are under the Geneva Convention. Now, granted, when you're in a foreign country, I mean, you're at the mercy of a foreign country. This was not happening in a foreign country, my friend. This was happening in the good old U.S. of A. under a Merrick Garland, Joe Biden Department of Justice. That's what I'm hearing, that you're getting done, had things done to you, my friend, that prisoners don't have done in foreign wars. Correct?
Yes.
Keep going.
Yeah, Washington D.C. is a foreign nation. They, those people over there just don't have a clue what it's like to be in the rest of Americans' lives. But so from this point, I had medical complications for a couple of weeks. Just trying to get my stomach back in order and being able to eat certain foods. And drink certain things. It took me a while to even be able to adjust, and the trauma and stuff that came with that. I began reaching out, because I was sitting back and I was going like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, I never went in the building. I never assaulted anyone. I never moved a barricade. The only thing that I did was speak, and I was trying to reach an audience that wasn't even at the Capitol. I was just trying to draw attention to the campaign, to try to get, votes and viewers, to show people, like, hey, this is here. Like, I was in media. This was my job. And, so I began to reach out to a bunch of elected officials. I began to reach out to different congressmen, including my own, Jody Arrington. And he did meet with me for an hour. And then they went and we went back, and nothing had really been done. It was like, they sent me a couple of emails. I asked if he was willing to take a picture with me, if he was willing to, write an amicus brief, if there was anything that was there. And it was basically, I got told, hey, this is something that's pretty heavy. We're going to be looking into it, to try to see what we can like what we can do with what's happening, but then nothing ever happened. And so I decided, I was like, and then finally I reached out to 65 different congressmen, and believe it or not, the only congressman that actually did something that while he was still a congressman was George Santos. He actually, I went to his office in Washington, D.C. I sat down with him and his staff. We actually prayed over the situation right there in his office. And he, I believe, wrote an amicus brief up to the Supreme Court asking for review of the 1512 C2, which is an Enron felony that I was charged with that pertains to threatening a federal witness and document destruction. It was basically written as a catch-all for Enron, for staffers that were shredding and destroying documents and threatening people if they didn't do it. It was basically a felony that you get. And that's where I'm at in my case right now. Is I'm at the Supreme Court with U.S. versus Fisher. I'm on a leave and motion of stay pending the ruling from the Supreme Court. And then, there's a couple of different rulings, like with Coy Griffin, with Cowboys for Trump, who's the only person that's been charged with insurrection, by the way. And it came from the state of New Mexico. It didn't come out of Washington, D.C. So this idea of an insurrection is just completely a false narrative. Nobody was armed.
I know, but
I wasn't. I don't think I could take over the government with a plastic fork and a camera. So.
No, you couldn't. Well, let me ask you this very serious question here. Do you believe, and I'm sure you've talked to other J6 prisoners or J6 defendants, has this been the norm of the treatment that most J6 prisoners in custody are getting from our government?
Yes. I would say that it's absolutely consistent. We have people that have cancer and leukemia that aren't getting what they need. Ryan Samsel's been beaten. A couple of the Proud Boys have been beaten. They're held in solitary confinement. Their medical needs and their prescriptions are not being filled. Oftentimes they will utilize like climate torture, where they will go in and shut off the air conditioning or the heat or whatever is going on up there. Here lately, it's been the heat. They'll just turn the heat off on them. Not feeding them chemicals in the food. Just basic standards of needs. And, finally, we've got Bibles at the facility. But it seems like every single day, an attorney is reaching out to the January 6th community and saying, hey, this need's not being met. We need people to call the jail. Helena Gibson and a bunch of the other girls that are out there that are fighting every single day, standing on the corner getting yelled at by Patricia. I can't remember. Patricia Aguino is a D.C. councilwoman who is for District 6, who is 3 feet from me on the steps of the United States Capitol, who goes down there every single night with a bullhorn and just harasses and screams obscenities and yells at people and tells them that she hopes they die. And she's an elected councilwoman now, and she was 3 feet from me on the steps of the United States Capitol, and she's never been arrested. Not one thing.
Well, no, she's a Democrat, Ryan. That's the issue, buddy. You're saying it right, but the issue's not whether Aquino's a wicked, evil person breaking the law. The issue, she's got a D in front of her name. Ryan Zink's got an R in front of his name. That's the difference, brother.
Well, I do now. I was not even a political person on January 6th.
I didn't think so.
I didn't even, politics didn't interest me at all. As a matter of fact, I never even voted, not one time.
Wow.
Until it was like 32. I saw Hillary Clinton and I saw, a billionaire philanthropist, playboy Donald Trump, and I was like, what kind of woman Hillary stayed with a guy like Bill Clinton? And that was really the reason. And I was like, well, he's not a politician and he's already a billionaire, so maybe he could fix a few things around the country. And that was my only legitimate thing. I never researched anything else, into any candidate. I couldn't even have told you who the congressman was on January 6th. I had no idea, but now I do. Now I know them all.
And you're running for the 19th District of Texas. That's the Lubbock area, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Let me stay on J6 because I want to get to your campaign because I brought you on for several reasons tonight. And I'm just going to say, look, this is, I know you're in a time crunch and we want you to come back because I'd like to just give you a full hour and just let you loose and tell everybody all the nuances of this. I know there's a lot of stuff we probably not even are able to cover. We may even open it up to a few questions, but
I don't even think a 10-hour podcast would be able to cover.
Probably not, Ryan. You're probably right, brother. How has this affected your family?
It's destroyed us financially. We've lost friends, even family. We've had family turn against us, and it's just been devastating. I'm already $300,000 in debt. I have, my first attorney stole $85,000 from me and my mother. She took out a second mortgage on her home in order to pay for attorneys that got me out of jail, and then abandoned me when I wouldn't take the plea deal. My current attorneys have been fabulous. John Pierce, Roger Roots, and Emily Lambert have stepped up to represent me. And, I've got a $100,000 bill from them for going to trial with everything that we filed. And then we're going to have the appeals. Plus, I lost my business. I lost the house that I was living in. I had to move into a place that I can barely afford. I'm just like every other American that's out there. I'm behind on rent right now. Luckily, we have groceries in the fridge. The electric bill got paid 3 days ago. It was about 3 days late. It's just, I haven't worked since September. I was fired from my job. My dad's campaign was in shambles for a while. He's also running in Arizona for CD3 over there. And, it's just... My mother has stood by my side. My father has stood by my side. My sister, my loving girlfriend, and just about 5 or 6 people. But the more people that I talk to, once they hear the real story, not the MSNBC, NBC, kind of broadcast that just labels me as this absolute maniacal, insane, crazed, insurrectionist who finally hears and understands that, as a matter of fact, Capitol police officers did tell me to stay and to help them with what they were doing, and testified that under oath. People have, slowly started to trickle back in, but the torture aspect of things really seems to make a difference, because I think it wakes people up to the realities of what's happening. Because if they can do this to me, they can do this to your family too. And all they have to do is utilize the Patriot Act and a FISA warrant to get it done.
Exactly right, Ryan. That's exactly right. Well, I'm sorry to hear your family. Has any of your family come around after hearing the truth?
Not really. I mean, it's to the point where I have my family. I've got my wonderful girlfriend, and we spend a lot of time together. And I'm closer now with my mother and father than I think that I've ever been. Even like growing up and everything else, because they know the truth. And even if the rest of the family doesn't want to come back around or whatever, then the Lord has blessed me with, with some great friends that I've made along the way. And I know that restoration is coming. I believe that, whenever Jesus decides that he's going to flip that switch, that he's going to restore me, and that it's going to be sevenfold.
He will, buddy. He will. Listen, we're going to get you back on and talk more about J6. I do want a quick question about your situation now. It's still pending with the Supreme Court. Are you still in legal jeopardy at this point, or do you feel like the lawyer has been able to show enough proof that you were basically just helping them, not insurrecting? And I'm glad you brought up the issue about the insurrection, because they're using that against President Trump. And there has been nobody except the one person you mentioned in New Mexico that they've even used that term in any of the charges. And that, I think, is going to get tossed. I don't see any of this stuff sticking eventually. But the cost to these J6 prisoners, Ryan, has been astronomical, and people will never understand the power of a corrupt justice system. And see, that's what scares me tonight. You are one of many, and it goes beyond J6, because we're witnessing the breakdown of our justice system. I'm watching Mayorkas get impeached tonight for the malfeasance at the border. And yes, absolutely, amen. I'm jumping up for joy. If it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate, but at least the House had the guts to finally do it. And all this crime in New York. I was looking at a figure tonight: top 5 cities in America that are most dangerous. 2 of them are in Alabama, of all places: Bessemer, St. Louis, Missouri. Birmingham was number 5, and I can't think of Memphis, Tennessee, which is in my state, 6 hours west. And you know something? These murder rates, homicide rates. There was a shooting on a New York subway this afternoon. Like 6 people got shot, 14, 15, 16, 18-year-olds. And Ron, you're in a fight, but I think that this fight even goes beyond you, buddy, because it's not just a fight for Ron Zink. It's a fight for a justice system to come back and make its senses, get back to its senses, because criminals are basically doing what they want to do and getting away with it, and law-abiding citizens are being railroaded into these trials, and they are being wrongfully accused, and they are being wrongfully convicted. And look, they have treated you all worse, as I said, than foreign nations treat prisoners of war in a conflict. I mean, listening to some of this stuff, this is just Chris. To me, you would have a slam dunk lawsuit for pain and suffering, and I don't even know what the word would be, against the legal system. But in this messed up world we're in, I don't know if it'd go anywhere. And I'm just curious if there's any thought that you're going to deal with this legally after all the smoke clears. Or can you even talk about that?
I absolutely plan to. You know, the Lord has said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and give unto the Lord what's the Lord's. And I believe that we are not fighting against flesh and blood, but that we are fighting against principalities. And that in that fight, I think that I know that I am righteous in my intent, that I want to fix America. Because, you know, what's happening is while these people, these elected officials that are above us, and these unelected bureaucrats and these three-letter agencies start pitting us against each other, like Republican, Democrat, Republicans did this, Republicans did that. They're eroding our religious and our constitutional freedoms away from us, and they're doing it in real time right in front of our faces.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's time for the American people to stand up. I'm just one person. You know, if I get elected, I can't promise anybody anything. But if you elect, you know, a bunch of grassroots candidates like myself who believe in the Constitution and who want to restore the power back to the American people, to the states, to the actual people, then I think that we can really accomplish something and get something done. But until our nation recognizes that Jesus Christ is the only answer, that unless he is put back into the head of all of our institutions, we will never prosper. And that's the other mission that I carry, is that Jesus Christ is the number one candidate that I'm endorsing for 2024, because without his guidance and his leadership, we won't prosper.
Well, I will tell you this, my friend, your faith is going to carry you. You've got something that most candidates don't, and that's faith. And we're a faith-based network here, and it's so good and proud to hear you say those words. I'm going to open our chat up in YouTube. If you got a question for Ron, can I keep you about 5-10 more minutes? You got 5 or 10 more minutes you can spare?
I got pretty much the rest of the evening.
Okay, good. I'm going to keep you over for about 5-15 more minutes or so. And they know it. When McDonald says 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to remember that could be 60 hours. So we'll try to keep it to a real 15 minutes. If you got a question for Ron, ronzink.vote is his website, folks, and I encourage you to go there. Let me go back to your campaign. You're running in the Lubbock area of West Texas.
Yes.
How are the reactions on the ground of the people there in West Texas to your campaign? Are you feeling a momentum? Who you going against in Texas 19? Is it an incumbent, or are you squaring off somebody that's like you, brand new?
Yes, it's an incumbent, and he's an incumbent that claims to be the one that wrote the litigation for the anti-rioting federal assault deal. So he's ultimately been quiet. Jody Arrington's the House Budget Committee chairman. Our budget's a disaster. Just plain and simple. Financially, he's not been able to accomplish. We're nearly $35 trillion in debt. And the reaction from the community whenever they see me and they talk to me and they hear my story, it's overwhelming. I gain voters every single place that I go because I am completely unashamed of the gospel of Christ, and I do not care what this world has to throw at me, because I believe that restoration, if it doesn't come in this life, that it will come in the next life, but that it's only my job to stand up for those who can't stand for themselves or don't know what's going on. And that's the reason that I decided to run, was because I wanted to stand in the gap for the American family and to stand on the principles of the 3 documents that are the only thing that can protect your household.
Come on, buddy.
Which is the Bible, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And that's the only thing that we have.
James R. told me I'd like you, and he was right. I think I'm gonna just adopt you as my youngin'. I like this kind of. I wish we had about 1 million candidates like you, my friend. We could change America with you. You know that?
I do believe that we could change America with you.
I agree. Look, I'm not making light of this. Look, your faith Ron, look, this is a tough time for you, and I know that we can't put into words out here in this audience. I know people say, well, we know what you're feeling. I don't know what you're feeling. Look, I've not been in a jail and had bleach mixed in with my food, and you've been to 4, they transferred you, what I heard, 4 facilities, right?
Yes,
What's your attorney telling you litigation wise? Are you? And I got a question or two coming into the chat here in a minute, but what has she told you your chances are for future resolution of this and future recompense? Because I mean, I tell you what they've done to you, brother, has been criminal. To me, that's more criminal than anything anybody on J6 did. And I may go on record tonight and saying this to my network audience, and I don't really care who's listening. J6 was not an insurrection. There was not any weapons in that crowd. The media lied. Joe Biden lied. The Democrat Party lied. Nancy Pelosi lied. Chuck Schumer lied. Mitch McConnell lied. A lot of Republicans lied about what happened. There was a couple of people that should have not done what they did. We don't throw rocks. President Trump warned people to go down there and protest peaceably. He never, ever said go down there and overthrow the election. He said go here, let your voice be heard peaceably. He said that 2 or 3 times. I was there in the crowd.
And patriotic.
Exactly. I was there in the crowd that morning, freezing my tushy off, and I listened to him. I didn't go. I didn't go down to the Capitol, but I heard him. I heard him say that. That was not an insurrection. There was never a call for an insurrection. The media made that term up. DOJ made that term up. Joe Biden made that term up. And I think what's happened to all of these prisoners, bar none, is a travesty of justice, number one, but it is criminal what they've done, and it is, again, the destruction of our justice system. And, my friend, this has got to stop, or we're not going to have a nation. But what's your attorney, what's her take on all this, where you stand right now legally, and what's your, and you don't have to share what you, if you can't, publicly, but is she giving you hope that maybe you've got reparations coming after this is over?
Well, I think that we have a long ways to go. My relationship with John, Roger, and Emily is very tight. I think that where are all of the other networks of attorneys that are trying to make their way to represent January 6th defendants? Where is the ACLU? Where is all of these other agencies that have been out there? The outcome is never going to be favorable whenever you go into Washington D.C. That's not a jury of your peers, and those members, the judges and the prosecutors, hate you. They hate you, and it's very evident from the looks on their faces to the comments that they make. Even I wasn't even allowed to have all of the discovery in my case. I took over 1,000 pictures and videos on January 6th, and we requested the rest of it. I was given 27 photos and videos to defend myself out of 1,000 pictures and videos. Think about that.
Wow. So
I've been denied my constitutional right to even represent myself at a trial. And then on top of that, the jury pool is like 98.4% Democrat, and there's a 100% conviction rate, with the exception of Matthew Martin and James Beeks. So there's never a positive outlook, but I don't get my assurance from my attorneys. I get my assurance from the man upstairs.
Absolutely, Ryan. That's
because
the way to look at
he tells me 365 times, do not be afraid. And you said that you wanted to you couldn't imagine or understand where I'm at. I can tell you where I'm at. I'm at Psalms 34, 35, and 36. Psalm 61, Psalm 64. These are the places. This is the realm of which I live, and the battles that I face. I step into the shoes of Job. I have strength like Samson. I have mental strength like Samson. I have I'm Daniel. I'm David. I have to rely on what the Bible gives me, because I carry it with me all across this country because I was denied it. And inside of my Bible is my bookmarker. I keep the Constitution, because I know that we are not assured anything in this life. Jesus said, if you come and you follow me, you will be persecuted, and you will suffer. And right now it's the suffering. And if there's anything that I can do to amend this suffering for the American people, or to end it for myself, then I ask, that's the reason that I ran. I asked God, if you're not going to send someone to me, then send me. And I spent many, many, many sleepless nights, and won't lie. There's been a few times that this Bible has been launched across the house, like hitting a wall or something in frustration, because the last 3 years has been it's my worst nightmare.
Jay Jay Morris
My
is yeah,
comes from the Father. It doesn't
absolutely.
come. It doesn't come from a ruling. It doesn't come from a statement or a jury or a judge. My faith and my household and my longing for this life comes from Jesus Christ.
Well said, Ryan. Well said, buddy. Your faith is beautiful. It really is. Jay Morris has got a question for you. He says, have you reached out to RFK Jr.? He's now calling out Biden and the border disaster. Have you reached out to any big name politicians in this, or do you just stick to the congressmen? You congressmen are useless. I'll have to tell you, congressmen are just useless. These people, Arrington, I mean, and I think that's what I'm hearing from a lot of other J6ers that have reached out to people they thought had their back, and I'm talking about the Republicans. And Republicans have been useless as can be. They've not come to anybody's rescue. There's a few. Jordan has come out and screamed a little bit, and Jim Jordan from Ohio, and
Jim Jordan also rejected my subpoena and didn't show up whenever I subpoenaed him to my case. So I subpoenaed Jim Jordan, Kevin McCarthy, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
None of them showed up.
And Matt Gaetz, and they all sent staff to quash the motion so that they didn't have to testify in the case. And all I was asking for was the relevancy and for them to make a statement on what the 4.4 terabytes of deleted information that the head, Benny Thompson, and the rest of the sham January 6th committee had put forward at the time, and they all rejected the motion. Kevin McCarthy flew to Japan the same day that he was supposed to come in to testify just to make sure that he wasn't there. So he's a coward. There still are a few people that I've reached out to that I think we're going to make some headway with. I will tell you the congressman that met with me. I've met with Congressman Troy Nils. I've met with Jody Arrington, who's refused to do anything. I have George Santos met with me, wrote an amicus brief, sent that up. So thank you for that, George. And then he was removed from the House. I have met. I'm currently working. I don't want to compromise anything, so I'm not going to list the name of the congressman that I'm working with. But there are some people that are stepping up and coming forward. So the fight continues. Just because one doesn't, look into something or do something. I can tell you one person that I am absolutely getting behind, and that's Representative Clay Higgins. I think that he's doing a wonderful job on his investigations that he has coming forward for January 6th. And then I'm really hoping that I get to Congress, because I would really like to make a dent in a majority of this, because I don't sleep much as it is these days anyways, because the Lord has granted me the strength and endurance to fight this, this case that's up with the federal, prosecution. And I hope to continue that journey into Congress to take that fight directly to these people, because I will not be a congressman that ignores my constituents. And I hate that word.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a politician. These are my equals. These are my people that are around me. 33 counties, one vote, and one voice. And it just that's just kind of where I'm at.
Those four names you gave me do not surprise me that they're all talking no action. I'm not a big fan of any of them, to be frank with you. But anyway, that's another discussion. But Corey Aguilar's got a great question for you out of Facebook tonight. What changes are you pushing for your campaign? Like your campaign, we've talked J6. Your campaign, you're running for the 19th district of Texas. What's Ron Zink's campaign focus and changes that you're pushing for in DC?
So right now, I think that the biggest threat to our nation is our border. So the first thing that I would like to do is put forward litigation that would give the power to the states, which they already have it. I think that the Supreme Court did make they made the right statement in their ruling, saying that the federal government is responsible for the border, but they're not doing anything about it, and that's why we impeached Mayorkas. We don't know who these people are that are coming into our country. The United States and the immigration problem doesn't just stem from Florida, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. It's an American issue, because inflation and who's coming into the country, as well as communicable disease that's being passed through with unvaccinated, undocumented individuals. And no, I'm not a COVID vaccine guy. I never took it. I trust in the Lord that He's going to take care of me. So I never got on that push. But we need to know who's coming through the border. We have cartel problems in all 50 states. We definitely have it in Texas and Arizona. We need to shut down the border.
Are y'all seeing not to interrupt you, but are y'all seeing things in Lubbock? Because y'all are like Lubbock's a pretty. It's in the Panhandle.
Lubbock is a sex trafficking hub that's primarily notarized by the cartel.
Really? Okay.
So, yeah. We have lots of problems in Lubbock and Abilene, and every state trooper, every police officer, every firefighter, paramedic that I talk to, they're all carrying Narcan just because it's become an epidemic all the way across. Fentanyl pouring into the country. It's just there's so many different facets of what's wrong, and it's stemming from the border. Another thing that I'm particularly interested in is that I'm all about protecting children. I think that the Supreme Court did. The Department of Education and the Board of Education should be stripped of their powers. I think that we need to return the rights back to the parents because, and one of the things for all the viewers that are out there watching tonight, I want you to go in and look at the paperwork that you signed at your school, because I've been sent multiple times from multiple different states and even a couple of places in Texas, not necessarily in my area, that when you sign the paperwork at the school for your child to attend there, sometimes in that paperwork it says that you waive your right to consent or counsel if they want to give your child a COVID shot, or if they want to begin counseling them on transitioning or becoming a member of the LGBTQ community. Right. And that's a household and a parent has the ultimate authority and right over their minor child. And I do believe that when people become of age, that they have the right to make decisions on whatever they want to do, whoever they want to become. That's fine. Just do it behind closed doors and don't make it a problem for the rest of the Americans around you. And I think that protecting our children is one of the biggest things. And for me, that includes not having men and women's sports. I feel that, we need to be able to protect our girls from somebody who would like to go into the bathroom. One of the problems that we have here in Lubbock, well, actually, I'm going to give you two problems, is that we have a group of furries that go to one school that causes problems all the time for the rest of the community that's around them. And at one of the middle schools here in Lubbock, we have a child that identifies as a cat, and she has to have a litter box that's provided at the bathroom. And that's a sanitary issue that goes with it. And I just think that not enough people are standing up. I know that a lot of parents want to, but it's crazy because there's the FBI knocking on the door, putting parents into a category of domestic terrorists because they're standing up for their children at school board meetings and they're being denied their First Amendment allocation to speak on behalf of their child. And so I'd like to put litigation forward that it not only gives parents choice, but it also extends to the education. The board and the Board of Education and all of that needs to be stripped away. We don't need unelected bureaucrats coming into our homes and into our schools telling us what we can do with our children. And I, as a parent, I won't stand for it.
How many kids you got, Ron?
You what?
How many kids you got?
I've got my first one on the way right now.
Congratulations, man. Hey, we got a couple. I've got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to run these questions by you real quick. Over on Facebook, Lex Montgomery. Good question here. She says, sounds like it was your faith mostly, but what kept you going each day while suffering in prison? And I want to add Corey's part B to this, because the conditions in that prison, have you taken this up higher up? I'm sure they have people been made aware of the conditions in that's a federal facility. And
yes, they're aware.
They're aware, and nothing's been done about it, basically.
No, absolutely
I didn't think
not.
so. That's what I sort of figured.
They're aware and complicit at this point. And what kept me going while I was in there was my prayer, and my prayer life became so adamant, and important to me while I was in there, because it was like the only thing I had. I didn't have any commissary. I didn't have a Bible. That's really what kept me going, was my prayer life.
Good for you. Good for you, my friend. I want to just read a couple of statements off of the YouTube tonight. Ricky Wilson, good to see you, dear. She was such a blessing to us last night. She says, bless you, brother. Continue to stand strong in your faith. God will see you through. Marilyn Riga says, DC needs a real good cleaning out. That's true. Rosemary Arnold, good question. She says, what law institution in our country allows you and other J6 prisoners to have no rights? Where did this, by the way, is this from the Garland DOJ? Is this pretty much where they're getting their marching orders to do this to you guys? Is the Merrick Garland Department of Justice?
So it's people that report directly to Joe Biden. It's in cooperation with all of the D.C. judges, including Chief Judge Boasberg. They know what's going on. It's Christopher Wray. It's Merrick Garland. It was Alejandro Mayorkas. Everything goes in. It's that's why there needs to be a complete cleansing. It's time to give the power back to the states. And let the states make the decisions. Let you vote in your area for what you want. I think that would be the easiest solution is, let's break up America. Like, let's be single for a while and kind of figure ourselves out as states and, and let the people decide, because you guys are the ones that really have the voice. I'm just one person. I have like 800,000 people in this district that all have a voice and they all have a vote, and that's who I'm going to be representing, because I can talk about my policies and what I want to do all day long, but if I ignore the people that are around me, my equals, then it amounts for nothing. And if I don't apply the Constitution and its value, then it really amounts for nothing.
Yeah. Well, listen, young man, this is not your last appearance on the McFiles. Your debut was a very good one. I'll give you that, and I'm grateful James connected me to you. I saw you, I think, one night on one of his scopes. The X thing is now the what do you call them? What do you call the things they do now? Spaces. Yes, it used to be scopes. Now it's spaces. And I'm afraid to go into James R. space. I'm afraid he'd whack me out. No, James R's a good guy.
He does a good.
Me and James R. go back. James R. and I started Pirate Radio. That was the most rogue, out of bounds show in the world. Still is. He's running it now, but we are partners in this, and he's a good guy, and him and Tina were precious to me. But I'm grateful through him I saw you, and I'm glad you answered my message to come on tonight. And I want to tell you thank you for a couple of things, and I'm going to echo what I'm seeing in that chat. Your faith is shining through like a bright beacon of light tonight to a lot of us. And as an elder statesman in this, because I am older, that hair is white. Yours is wonderfully young and vibrant.
It's just the glare from the camera.
Yeah, it's just the glare from the camera. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But to us older folks out here, seeing a young man like you going through what you've gone through, and to not make you bitter, but it's made you draw closer to God and get your faith prayer life. It's encouraging. I know it's encouraging to the host, and I'm sure it is to a lot of our people tonight. And
but it's not me.
I know it's not right. It's Christ. It's the Holy Spirit, and I know where it's coming from. But I still thank God that you've allowed him, because you got to obey the Holy Spirit. A lot of people say they got the Holy Spirit, and they don't act like the Holy Spirit. You're obeying him. Keep the faith. But I do believe that God is going to bring you through this. And I know it's a tough road ahead still for you. And I encourage our people, RyanZink.vote is his website. Go there, pray about what you can do to help him. And we're going to get you back on maybe in a few weeks. And if you have something that comes up, if this thing settles or whatever, text me, call me, whatever. You got my number. We'll get you on quickly. Even if we have to go by phone, if we can't set up all this on Zoom, because we'll do phone interview. And listen, we're gonna we've got a new outreach coming in March on radio, and we may get you on radio as well when we start there. And I want you to hang loose and just know that you got an open forum here on the McFiles. I will tell you that anything you need, anytime you need to come on and talk about something. And we do want to get you back, because I think there's a lot of people got a lot more questions about what's happened to you with J6. Are there any other J6ers, as I close tonight, because I got to say goodnight. We're an hour and 15, 20 minutes. We're a little late. Are there any other J6ers that you know of that have went through anything worse than you have? Or are you that? I don't see how much you can get worse what you've been through, young man.
Everybody's case by case on what they've gone through. I think that when the majority of the guys get out of jail and we can actually get to hear their stories, I think that, we're going to be there. What happened to me was just, one isolated incident, and I made it out by the grace of God. And I just think that once everybody has a platform like this to speak on, that we're going to get to the truth of what's happened with everybody else that's out there. And that's why I make myself available for people if they want to ask me questions. You can get at me at the RyanZink.vote website. I'm at Ryan Z for Congress on X, and at Real Ryan Z on Truth Social. And I still have I'm still appealing. So if you guys want to call Facebook for me, that'd be great, because they're committing election interference because they won't allow me to have Facebook. I filed appeal after appeal, so I would try to be up on there, but just most of all, just pray.
We will.
The one thing that I have is,
hey, you got the McFiles, man. Don't worry about it. You got McFiles and James R. You don't need Facebook. We'll get you on here. You can say whatever you want to say, man. Listen, I wish we had more time. Thank you for being with me tonight, and I wish you the best. I'm going to be in touch with you, and we're going to get you back. I want to say goodnight to these folks off camera, and I'm going to let you go off the Zoom, and I appreciate you. RyanZink.vote is his website, everybody. And Ryan, please keep in touch with me and keep me posted on how things are going. And any way we can help you, we're right here, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. God bless you. Have a good evening.
Bless you. Ryan Zink, everybody. Put some fire in that house for him. We're grateful for that young man. Good smile. Look at that kid. He's a good kid. You can just tell by looking at him that he is, he's been going through the fire a little bit, hasn't he? Listen, we're grateful that you've been with us tonight, and we're running late. I apologize. Ryan was running a little late. He had a town hall sort of thing, and he was actually talking to voters, and he had a good reason for being late, so we're not upset about that. We're glad we got him on when we did. We'll have him back, and we will keep you posted on him. There was a gentleman out there asked about the Republicans having a bad night. Well, we may have a bad night, but the Democrats are about to have a bad year. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to take issue with you, friend. I wasn't expecting too much in that New York election special. I'm assuming that's what he's referring to, Santos's old seat. We wouldn't have had this had the Republicans just been strong and stood up for one of their own. But that's not what Republicans do. And, what I took away from Ryan, if he reached out to Marjorie Taylor Greene, useless. Jim Jordan, useless. Matt Gaetz, useless. And I can't think of the other one. McCartney, who's already gone, he's useless. And they wouldn't even, and then they didn't even not just show up, but they sent their people down there to squelch the subpoena so they wouldn't have to show up. That should tell you everything you need to know about these X-stars, is what I call them. That they blather and they run their mouth and they're the great champion on Fox for you. But deep down inside, folks, there ain't nobody caring for you in D.C. Look, I'm not a pessimist. My dear friend Rosanna Parsons is in the house tonight, and she says we're all screwed. I'm not going to sit there and take issue with that. But there's a part of me that I want to amen that. I just do. Because, folks, without a justice system that's working for everybody fairly, we are. With an open border like we got, we are. With a unfair election, we are. And this is not a faith issue. Look, there's nobody in this universe that don't understand the faith element of this than your host tonight. I know where our faith is. You heard Ron Zink say it. He said it beautifully, folks. Our faith in Christ. And our faith shouldn't change no matter what the situation is. I'm talking politically tonight. I'm talking nationally. I'm not talking spiritually. Look, as far as I'm concerned, this country is in God's hands either way. Rick Wilson last night was on target. She talked about the hammer of justice and America's Red Sea moment. And I will tell you this right now. America's on a collision course one way or the other, either good or bad with the Lord. She is, as a nation. And what happens to this nation is ultimately up to its citizens and us as a church, and how we intercede and how we pray and how we come into alignment with what God wants for this country. And I don't want to start getting into all that tonight, because I don't want to take away from Dan, and I don't want to take away from Ron Zink. I'll be with me tomorrow night. We'll be doing our faith show tomorrow night, our Bible study on the Church of Philadelphia. But I will say this as I close tonight, folks. We are in a perilous situation nationally. I do not doubt a word that Ron Zink said tonight, that what he went through is probably not being repeated by any defendant that's out there that was arrested on this travesty of justice that they did on J6. And our prayers are with him and that young man, and he's going to be a dad soon. And, you know, he's talked about our great-grandkids being handed this bill. I hate to tell him, he's a few generations off. It ain't going to be our great-grandkids, folks. Our kids are going to be handed this bill. That's how bad the debt is in this country. That's how bad this economy is. It ain't going to just be our great-grandkids that are going to pay this price. Our next generation is going to pay this price, and definitely our grandkids will. But I think our kids are going to pay it too. Look, if the Lord tarries, I'm just going to throw a number out there, and we're not setting dates. But even if the Lord tarries 30 years, McDonald won't be here. 50 years, I definitely won't be here in 50. Unless the Lord grants me a great, great, great deal of grace, and I live to be 109. But let's just say in the next 40 to 50 years that we that are in our 50s and 60s, we're gone. And you take what's going on tonight and you just keep sliding it down this hill. God help us all. And the gentleman out there that was boasting about that he loves the fact that the Republicans had a tough night, well, all I got to tell you is laugh it up. It's okay. You can enjoy your moment tonight. And I'm not saying this to be ugly at all. We never are ugly on this show. You're entitled to your opinion. It may have been a rough night in the sense that we didn't win that special election. But I look at it, we didn't have a bad night because we impeached a useless Homeland Security director. And I would be much more worried about the top of your ticket than we are the top of ours. Because I will tell you right now, at the top of your ticket is a individual that was basically told by special counsel that the only reason he's not going to federal prison for putting classified documents in a garage is because he's senile and he's old and he can't remember what day his son died. That's at the top of your ticket, sir. The top of our ticket's Donald Trump. And I think I like our chances a lot better than you in November. So if you feel like we've had a bad night, then enjoy your moment. I'm okay with that. You know, we lost a seat in New York. What's different? What's new? We wouldn't have even had to lose the seat if the Republicans would have done the right thing. But they never do the right thing. None of these Republicans do. And that's what I got to say about it. Anyway, good to see everybody tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. Sort of had a double feature, didn't we? We had a double feature, and we hope that you enjoyed that, and we appreciate you all. Nella said the world was made aware of the mistreatment of the J6 prisoners. I saw videos. Well, Nolita, everybody have seen it. But, you know, I think the thing about it, Nolita, is the fact that I think Corey's question, they don't care. People have heard the stories of this mistreatment of these prisoners. Nobody's doing anything about it. So I don't care if there's a million videos out there. We can watch videos till we're blue in the face. The question is somebody going to stand up and put somebody in prison for the mistreatment of prisoners? Because again, folks, if this was a war, like a real war, and these boys went overseas and were captured by a foreign power, they get treated better, are supposed to be treated better than even this bunch that's in our own prison tonight. That says a lot about the state of our country. That says a lot about the state of our country. So, that's why I brought the cowboy hat out tonight. I figured I was going to need it between Dan and Ryan. I wasn't wrong, was I? So, God bless them both, and thank you all for being with me tonight. We had a good crowd tonight. I'm grateful y'all are here. I'm going to sleep on this one tonight, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Listen, we got a different kind of show coming tomorrow. Dory West will be with me tomorrow night on our Faith Network at 6 o'clock. Special Faith Chat. We haven't had one of those in a long time, and we're grateful to have Dory coming. She's got a lot to share tomorrow night. And then we got our Faith Bible study on Wednesday night, tomorrow night. And then Thursday night, we may have a doubleheader again, but it's mainly just going to be one show Thursday. And that's Victor Avila. Victor Avila is going to be with me. He'll probably pick up on a lot of things that Ryan was saying, especially what Dan was saying. Victor is fighting this fight too. in Texas. It seems like Texas is our focus this week. And our prayers for the Lone Star State and you folks that live out there. Truly, I mean that. And then that'll wrap it up. Now, Friday night, Saturday, don't forget our folks in the southeast, Jacksonville, Florida. I've been getting the outlines together today, and we've got a lot of good stuff to share with you Friday night, a lot of good stuff to share with you Saturday afternoon, Saturday night at the Ramada Wyndham at 3130 Hartley Drive. And we hope that you'll come out and be with us for this prophecy conference. This will be the second one that we've had, and we'll have another one or two coming up in the next. Well, we're going to try to do one a month. I don't know if we can, but that's what our goal is. But come out and be with us. Now, we will have a show next week. I'll be in studio and in Nashville for the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, but we will have some audio network shows throughout the week. So we won't be with you. It will be. James Akers is going to be with me Monday night. We're going to deal with Israel. We've not dealt with Israel in a long time, but there is a lot of stories that I've not been able to talk about that I've been burning at the bit to talk about how this country is about to destroy itself with its treatment of God's nation of Israel. And I'm going to get into that Monday night with James. So be with me then for that. Victor Avila Thursday, Dory West tomorrow night. Now, if we don't see you on the news network, we're not going nowhere tomorrow night. Come on over to our faith network and listen to this beautiful lady that's going to be sharing her testimony and some things God's sharing her, and then come back here Thursday night on the news network with Victor Avila and myself. We may even have a double feature. I don't know. We'll see about that, but probably not. Probably not. Not Thursday night. Victor will be our only show, and then we'll wrap it up for the week, and then I'll see you again Sunday, and then next week. And then we'll get back to normal on the 25th. We'll have a full week of shows. We've already got Joe Gilbert. Judge Sherilyn Allen is coming back with us. And Tony Branco, my dear buddy, my favorite cartoonist in the world, is coming. Eric Karen will be back with us that week. Brad Johnson, we're going to get him in here. And I don't know, I may even sing and dance for you. I don't know. We'll do something weird that week, but it'll be a good week. So we hope you'll join us then. All right, let me get out of here. Let me say one other thing before we leave. Don't forget our dear friends at Hoosier Warrior Coffee. Whoops. That's not Hoosier Warrior Coffee. I don't know what that was. It says I do know what that was. One way or another, we were going to be in for one wild night. Well, we were in for one tonight, that's for sure. HoosierWarriorCoffee.com/McFiles. Hoosier Warrior Coffee, a combat, veteran-owned coffee company located in Brownsburg, Indiana. Their coffee is placed. Once an order is placed through their website, the customers receive the freshest coffee. A portion of every sale using this link or the OR code or QR code will be sent to the McFiles to help keep the show on the network. You can support our network and get some great coffee. And I want to just say this. I'll come back over here and say it. Best people in the world. The Corvins are absolutely the best people. Natalie is a precious, precious friend. And you won't go wrong in getting that coffee, but it does help the network. And if you've enjoyed the content tonight, don't forget, we always welcome donations at paypal.com/themcfiles and Zelle, chrismac44@gmail.com. Until tomorrow night with Dory West on our Faith Chat and then our Bible study tomorrow night on Philadelphia. Have a good night, everybody. Did you enjoy Dan and Ryan? Sort of rhymes, don't it? Dan and Ryan. Ron and Dan. Ryan and Dan. And the Mac Man. Sounds like a traveling duo or something. But give them some fire and some shout-outs out there. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. It makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and laws, having ink stains that have dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory, that keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy painted on their columns now that bind me, something that somebody said because they thought we'd fit together walking. It's not knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiving when I walk around the railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and hours you're just gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and the summer sun might burn me till I'm blind. But not to where I cannot see you walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard, a rustling towel, and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup hands round the tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting from the back roads by the rivers of my memories, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind.